Visitors heard monks chanting inside ruins that had stood empty for centuries. Long before tourists visited the grounds of Beaulieu Abbey, before ghost stories became entertainment, the ruins already carried a strange reputation through Hampshire. Witnesses described hearing Gregorian chanting drifting through empty stone corridors. Others reported monk-like figures moving silently through the abbey at dusk, only to disappear moments later. What made the reports unsettling was not one single sighting, but how many different people, across decades, described remarkably similar experiences. Beaulieu Abbey was founded in the early 1200s by King John and became one of the most important Cistercian monasteries in southern England. At its height, monks lived, worked, prayed, and were buried within the abbey grounds. The community followed strict religious routines, including long periods of silence, prayer, and Gregorian chant echoing through the stone buildings. But after Henry VIII's dissolution of the monasteries in the 16th century, the abbey was abandoned and partially destroyed. Over time, the once busy religious complex became a vast ruin of broken arches, roofless chambers, and overgrown pathways. And according to many later visitors, something about the place never fully felt empty. By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, reports had become well known locally. Several witnesses claimed to see hooded monk apparitions moving along the ruins at night. Others described pale figures appearing briefly near the old cloisters before vanishing. One of the most repeated claims involved strange chanting. Visitors, caretakers, and locals reported hearing low Gregorian-style voices carried through the abbey grounds, despite nobody being present inside the ruins. Some accounts describe the sound as distant and mournful. Others claimed it sounded unusually close, as though people were standing just beyond sight, inside the darkness. Among the names connected to the case was Brother Augustus. According to reported accounts tied to the abbey legends, the monk was allegedly linked to sightings and unexplained activity connected to the grounds after death. As with many older haunting traditions, separating documented history from oral folklore becomes difficult over time. But the stories continued. One particularly discussed account involved a local vicar who reportedly encountered what became known as the Lady in Blue. The figure was described as calm, silent, and dressed in blue clothing near the abbey grounds. According to later retellings, the encounter affected the vicar deeply enough that the story continued circulating long afterward within local paranormal discussions. There are also claims involving unusual objects and discoveries associated with the ruins. Stories emerged surrounding a hidden coffin allegedly connected to unexplained disturbances. Another local legend involved what became known as the haunted boot, an object reportedly tied to strange experiences after being removed from the abbey area. Like many historic haunting cases, some details evolved through retelling over generations, but the persistence of the stories became part of the mystery itself. Even more intriguing were claims of photographic anomalies. Certain visitors believed photographs taken around the abbey appeared to show unusual shapes, shadowed figures, or unexplained forms near the ruins. Most remained debated, unclear, or impossible to verify conclusively, but they added to a growing belief that Beaulieu Abbey was more than simply an old historical site. Even Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of Sherlock Holmes, and later a public supporter of spiritualism, was reportedly aware of stories connected to unusual sounds and phenomena linked to the abbey. That matters because during the late Victorian and Edwardian periods, spiritualism and psychical research were being discussed seriously by sections of society, including writers, investigators, clergy, and academics. This was an era where seances, apparitions, and survival after death theories were not automatically dismissed by everyone, and places like Beaulieu Abbey became woven into that wider atmosphere of fascination and fear. Today, the ruins remain peaceful during daylight. Tourists walk among ancient stone arches, birdsong replaces monastic prayer, the wind moves quietly through the broken windows of a building nearly 8 centuries old. But even now, visitors still report moments they struggle to explain. A figure glimpsed briefly between pillars, voices carried through empty space, an atmosphere that suddenly feels heavy and watched. And perhaps that is why this story has endured for so long. Not because one piece of evidence proved anything beyond doubt, but because generation after generation kept leaving with the same uneasy feeling that somewhere inside those ruins, the past may not be entirely silent.